Hello, my name is Eden D'Souza, the Stewardship Coordinator for the Roman Catholic Diocese of Calgary, and welcome to Faith Life, a stewardship forum on faith. This session of Faith Life is titled Weddings and Cohabitation. For those of you who are looking to get married one day, or who are currently married, did you know that this is a vocation, and not just an emotion? What are the Church's teachings on this vocation? On living together before marriage? Tips for a happy marriage? And what does death do us apart really mean? For the answers to these questions and more, please enjoy the following video.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the 8th session of Faith Life, a stewardship forum on faith. My name is Rowena Romero Carlson, and I am honored that this esteemed panel of priests still allow me to act as one of the moderators for the Faith Life sessions. Our other moderator is Sherry Johnson, who is standing at the back. Our focus for tonight's session is weddings and cohabitation. Whether you are currently married or not, the messages you hear this evening will be of value to enriching all of your relationships. Something that our priests do not know about me, fathers, I confess, I can definitely use your guidance in this topic, as I have officially walked down the Catholic aisle more than 10 times. 7 times as a flower girl, 3 times as a maid of honor, and oh yeah, my own wedding too. These talks are meant to give all of us something to think about. As we are in an Italian-related church and talking about marriage, I started to think about Italian food at a wedding reception. Therefore, this evening, I invite everyone to EAT. We will eat together this evening, with E standing for the education you will receive, A for the appreciation we hope that you will all have for spouses, past, present, and future, and T that represents the thought-provoking messages that our well-respected panel will be sharing with us. Our first presenter this evening, as I mentioned earlier, received a promotion shortly after the last Faith Life session in November. As the former associate pastor at St. Albert the Great, Father Jerome is now the pastor at St. Peter's. I asked Father Jerome how his transition to St. Peter's was, and he responded, "It has been very smooth, considering I feel like I jumped on a horse that was halfway around the track." So far, so good, though. When it comes to weddings, I asked Father Jerome about the incorporation of traditions of other cultures into the ceremonies. He's okay with them as long as the traditions do not distract from the essential part of the ceremony and the sacrament. Father Jerome actually once had a couple ask him if they could bring in motorcycle jumps into the parking lot so that after the wedding, the couple could do some tricks in the air with their dirt bikes. Needless to say, Father Jerome shut that idea down in a hurry. To present his talk entitled Vocation or Thing to Do, please help me welcome Father Jerome.
St. Alphonsus de Liguori has a way of putting many things in perspective. To enter any state of life, a divine vocation is necessary. For without such a vocation, it is, if not impossible, at least most difficult to fulfill the obligations of our state and obtain salvation. When it comes to the vocation of marriage, the vocation through which the majority of human beings are meant to work out their salvation, I believe as believers we need to embrace this new paradigm shift of understanding if we can truly get out there and help salvage countless souls. And here's what I mean by this. As it stands, we live in a culture where a boy meets a girl. Some meet the old-fashioned way. They actually meet face-to-face. But more often than not nowadays, they meet in cyberspace. And then they start texting. And then they start Facebooking and emailing. And they create the best version of themselves so as to entice the human heart of the other to develop feelings of affection. And after some time passes, the boy and the girl feel like we've invested enough time now. We got to take this relationship to the next level. And the next level means moving in together. And then at some point, life's going to get a little complicated. Maybe she gets pregnant. Maybe a few years go by. Or it could be as simple as friends around them are now starting to get married. Either way, the next thing you know, someone proposes a wedding date is set on the beach somewhere, maybe on a golf course, or in a church, because she's always wanted the church wedding. Very truly, I tell you, marriage has become just the next thing to do along your developmental journey as a human being on planet Earth. It's like that 16-year-old that gets really excited about getting their car license, because that's what you do when you're 16. In the same way, not for everyone, but for many of our countless young couples who now just live together, at some point they get excited about marriage because that's just what we need to do now. It's become a natural progression of events. And if we really sit back and we think about that, it's a miracle. It's a miracle that almost half of them actually last. Luciano Pavarotti, he said that when he was a boy, his father, who was a baker, introduced him to the wonders of song. And he encouraged his boy to start developing his voice. A man by the name of Arrigo Pola, a professional tenor in his hometown in Modena, Italy, took him in as his pupil. The day came when Pavarotti finally graduated. And on that day, he turned to his father and he said, "Dad, should I be a teacher or should I be a singer?" Luciano, if you try to sit on two chairs, you're going to fall between them. For life, you must choose one chair. Pavarotti later wrote in life, "I chose one. It took 7 years of study and frustration before I made my first professional appearance. It took another 7 years to reach the Metropolitan Opera. And now I think whether I'm laying bricks, writing a book, whatever you choose, we should give ourselves to it. Commitment, that's the key. Choose one chair." So here's a reality check. It took Pavarotti 14 years of dedication, preparation, commitment, hard work before he ever walked on the stage of the Metropolitan Opera. Let's come at this from another angle. It takes a man a minimum of 8 years. For myself, it took 10 years of dedication, preparation, commitment before I was ever allowed to step into the sanctuary of holy orders. And yet, when a man and a woman, teenagers that are just young adults, come forward and they want to work out their eternal salvation by means of a marital vocation, we send them away on a weekend course, or if they're lucky, we'll give you a couple to journey with for a few months. And after you've learned from their experience, then come along and stand in front of this altar before God, the angels, the saints, and the people of God, and you publicly declare that you will live out the rest of your days in this vocation until one of you dies. What if someone was to come forward desiring the priesthood and we said, "That's great, weekend course coming up in 3 weeks. Sign up. If you don't like that one, we can get you another one." Or, "Hey, hang out with Father for a couple of months, and then we'll ordain you." How long would that vocation last? It's a miracle. It's a miracle of no small grace that nearly half of marriages actually make it. So I guess the question I have for all of our young people out there trying to make sense of life, trying to figure out what am I supposed to do with my vocation? Is marriage truly the vocation that God has set aside for you through which you will inherit eternal life? Or is marriage really just that comfortable chair that we happen to be sitting in for now? St. Gregory once said that our eternal salvation depends principally on embracing the state to which God has called us. Because the person who makes a mistake in their vocation mistakes the way that's been set out for them by God to attain everlasting life. Your vocation, whether it's marriage, religious life, or the single life, is not a small matter. There's many paths we can choose in life. There's many chairs we can sit in along the way, but only one path has been set aside by God for each of us, through which we will find that peace of mind, peace of soul, and the gift of endless birthdays in the life to come. So all young people discerning, take it to prayer. Discern it through and through before you stand before the altar of God and promise to remain with someone till you breathe out your last breath. Because that promise made here, it echoes through the roof into eternity. And there will come an appointed day and time in the not too distant future when you have to give an account for how you lived out that promise. And then from there, how you spend eternity will be determined.